Alright guys, we are going to have a brand new game coming to global very soon, which is going to be HAIKYU Fly High. Now, the official release date for the game is going to be on 31st of July for the global version. But I was lucky enough to be given trial access so that I can actually show you guys what this game is all about. So in today's video, I'll be showing you guys very different aspects of this game so you know exactly what to expect, and also give you guys a couple of tips and act as a bit of a beginner's guide so that once the game finally launches, you guys know exactly what to do in the early days. Now, let's start off with what this game is all about. I would say, well, first of all, the game is about haiku, obviously, as the name suggests, which, in case you guys never seen it before, it's one of the best sports anime out there, by the way, so definitely do check out. But it's going to be all about volleyball. Now, as a result, this game does have a quite mixture of genre. There's obviously that sports genre to it because you will be playing volleyball matches, etc. But obviously, there's also going to be that gacha element because you will be collecting various different players from the series. There's also going to be a bit of a strategy element because you actually need to, find the right team composition for the very different volleyball players you're going to play because every single character is going to have different skills and different synergy to each other. And lastly, once you're actually inside the volleyball match itself, which I'll show later on in the video, it's actually then becoming a bit of a turn-based RPG because you actually need to decide which character to actually do the spikes, to do the blocks, etc. every single turn so that you are able to, overall win the match. So it's definitely a bit of a mixture of different genres, and which makes this game actually very interesting and also quite unique in my opinion. Let's start off with the gacha system. As you can see, there are two different things you can summon for in this game. One is going to be the players themselves, and then the second thing are going to be the memories, which you can actually equip on your players to make them stronger. Now, you can equip any type of memory of the same position onto any kind of players of that position. So they are kind of somewhat transferable, and you don't need to worry about them too much. So the main focus is still going to be your player summoning system. Okay. Now there are four different banners going on right now. The last one, this is kind of your standard permanent banner, which you can ignore because vast majority of the time you should be summoning on one of the feature characters instead. Now, if we move on to the select recruit, which is a banner right above the standard banner, this type of banner, basically you are able to guarantee an SSR character for every 80 summons, and also you will be getting a boosted rate from 60 summons onwards. And on top of that, there's actually a wishlist function where, first of all, any kind of SSR you obtain from this banner is going to be guaranteed to be one out of the three available here. However, you can also choose one to have a slightly higher rate than the other two. And also there's a bit of a 50-50 system in the sense that if your first pity, when you manage to get the SSR, it's not actually the character you want, then the second pity you hit with the second SSR you get is going to be guaranteed to be the actual character chosen on the wish list. So that's kind of how this banner works. And then the next banner up is what I will call the UR banner. And this banner is going to be somewhat similar to the SSR banner in terms of the SSR rate. It's also going to be every 80 summons you are guaranteed to be one SSR character, and also you have that boosted rate from 60 summons onward. However, what's more special about this kind of UR banner is the fact that it actually have a UR character as well, which are going to be stronger than your SSR characters. But the pity for those kind of characters is actually going to be higher as well. So it's going to be 140 summons instead with a boosted rate from 80 summons onward. So basically, you can think of this type of banners actually have two pity system going on at the same time. One's going to be for the SSR character, one's going to be for the UR character, and they're all independent. So you can actually get into a situation where you summon on both the SSR and also UR at the same time. Now, for both type of banners, any pity you build can be carried over into future banners of the same time. So for example, you can always carry the select recruit pity into the future select recruit. Now obviously the character on the wish list may be different, however you are able to transfer that pity, and likewise for the UR banner, you are always able to carry that pity into future UR banners as well. Now, in terms of the currency that you'll be using to summon for both of them, one will be the red tickets, which you can summon for the UR banners, and then for the other banner, you'll be the purple ticket, and the two are not interchangeable. Now, the only way that you can actually somehow interchange them, okay, well, not interchange, but basically you can use diamonds to buy either type of ticket, and they actually cost the same value. However, obviously UR characters are going to be a lot stronger than SSR characters, so my general tip or guideline is going to be always convert your diamonds into UR ticket, whereas for this type of select recruit, you just summon it with whatever recruit normal purple ticket you're able to get through the game, but never spend any diamonds to actually exchange for recruit ticket. It's just not worth it, okay? Now, the last type of banner on the player recruit is going to be this Battle Pass banner. And the reason why I call it Battle Pass banner is because the currency you use to summon here can either be obtained from event missions or actually buying Battle Pass with real life money. And the way it's actually designed is so that free-to-play players would never be able to hit the pity with the free currency the game is able to give you from the event. And instead, it kind of encourages you to spend $10 to buy a Battle Pass so that you can actually hit the pity here. So that's basically the way this banner is. So basically for free-to-play players, this is probably almost always out of question unless you get very, very lucky to get the character before pity. But for the spenders, this is a very cost-effective way. Basically, you're able to guarantee one SSR unit in just $10 basically. And also whatever character here will eventually be added to standard banner. So even if you're free-to-play, don't worry. This character will eventually be added to standard banner. It's just that you won't be able to get it straight away while he first appears. Now let's take a look at the actual characters in this game. So all of the character in this game is going to be labeled with a position to indicate what position can they play, and they can't play anywhere else. It's also going to have a rarity, which is obviously how basically a simple gauge of how good that character is. And also there's going to be a bunch of other things, for example, star rating and also play rating, etc. Now the star rating is going to determine what's the maximum level you can rate a character by, and it's independent of your rarity. So basically you can even have an SSR character at just 3-star and then have a normal or rare character at 6-star. That's absolutely fine if you really want to do it that way. But basically what's going to indicate is going to be the maximum level. So for example, at 4-star, the maximum level I can rate the character is going to be level 60. Whereas if my character is only 3-star, for example, like him, I can only rate it to maximum level 40. And once I hit that limit, I then need to consume other character of the same star rating in order to actually limit break and raise my character high. Now, if we actually go into the character page themselves, what you can see is that all of the character is going to have 4 skills. However, one skill is not going to be unlocked straight away. And the way you actually want to unlock this is going to the third tab here, which is training, where you're going to need some additional resources in order to unlock all of those nodes, which are going to give you some basic stat. But most importantly, the very last one, the one in the center, is going to give you is actually your skill 4, or the third skill here, so that you are then able to have 4 different skills available to your character. And that's going to be very important because there's something called skill resonance. And that is basically, you can think of it as the character duping, because basically every single time when you actually have a dupe on your character, what you can do is you can use it to raise up the level of one of your skills. Now, just raising up the level of one of your skills is not actually that impressive by itself, but what is actually impressive is that once you actually have the total level of all 4 of your skills at a certain amount, you are then able to unlock some additional ability. For example, this one here is only unlocked when you have total skill level at 6, and this one here is only when your total skill level at level 10. And what that basically means is that for any kind of basic player, once you unlock his 4 skill, he would normally only be starting off with skill level 4. So if you get 2 extra dupes for that character, you can then unlock 1 additional ability. Or if you actually get if you get 6 extra dupes for the character, you can then unlock both of their additional ability. So that's kind of why duping is actually quite important in this game. Now, that's kind of the basic characters themselves. However, you can also equip other things onto the character, which is going to be in the form of potentials. This is more of an end game scene where you actually need to farm the very different main stats and also substats for each of your characters. And also, if you actually have certain sets, you can increase it by certain amounts as well. And then there's also the memory, which I showed you earlier. You can also get this from the Gacha system, but this is going to able to give you some additional benefit for characters of that position as well. Okay. Now, once you have all of your players, let's talk about how to actually team build with them. So team building in this game is actually somewhat realistic because you can't just bring 7 random players. It actually kind of forces you to bring a balanced team by forcing you to have certain number of players from each position. So you are required to bring 2 mid blockers, 2 wind spiker, 1 setter, 1 liberal, and also 1 opposite hitter. It also follows the avoidable rules in terms of rotation. So your team may start off looking like this. However, as you win and lose points, your team is then going to gradually rotate and then look like something else. And that's kind of why there's this button here to give you a bit of a preview of how your team would then actually rotate out. And a lot of time, this is actually one very, very important aspect of team building because it's not just about bringing your 7 character. It's also about what kind of position you actually want to bring. Who should be starting off the surfing, and as they actually rotate around, is it actually going to be beneficial for your team, or do you actually need to do something else instead? So this is also a good strategy part of the game. Now, the other things you can also set up is going to be your subs. So obviously you can bring some backup, but also at the same time you can also decide how does your liberal actually sub in. Would it be subbing in for mid blocker, for opposite hitter, or for wind spiker? And also, do you actually want to bring a pinch server in case there's someone who's not very good at surfing? However, as your team rotate around, you would require them to actually start surfing. So that's kind of why you would then potentially consider bringing a pinch server instead. So those are all the different things you can do. Now, what makes a team good or not, it's going to be obviously based on your team synergy and the synergy between different players. But there are a few things you definitely should look out for. One is going to be the lineup speciality, and one is going to be the bonds. Now let's start off with the lineup speciality. Now basically in this game, there's a bit of rock, paper, scissors relationship in terms of the team strategy, let's say. So your lineup can be either quick attack, block, power attack, or receive. And the way you determine what speciality your team is based in is going to be depending on the setup. So as you can see, if I put Kageyama, it's always going to be quick attack. No matter whether it's the SR version or the SSR version, it's always going to be quick attack. Whereas if I actually bring someone from those 3 characters, it's always going to be a block. So basically a lot of time what you can see here is right now, if you actually take a look at my lineup speciality, you can see it's of quick attack because I'm using Kageyama. However, if I just simply swap my setup and keep all of the other 6 players the same, you can see all of a sudden now it's actually going to be power attack. And that's basically how you can change up your setup in order to change your strategy and then potentially give you a favorable countering situation against the enemy, because the quick attack is always going to counter block. Block is always going to be good against power attack. Power attack is going to be good against receive, and then receive is going to be good against quick attack. So depending on the opposition setter, you then actually may need to change your setter just so that you have that advantage over the enemies. So that's one thing that you want to look out for. Then the other thing you also want to look out for is going to be the bonds. And there's both school bonds and also development bonds. Now school bond is quite obvious. You just need to bring 4 characters from the same school, and then you'll be able to activate some additional effect. Now player bonds, you actually need to bring all of the players inside a relationship, and the best way for you to actually check what are the bonds available is if you actually go to gallery, you go into bonds, you can then see all of the bonds available for characters of each school. Now sometimes it's going to be based on character specific from the same school, in which case you can kind of tick the box for both your school bond and also character bond, but sometimes you also have some relationship between characters from different school, in which case you then need to do with a mix and match. And now one other thing you also want to know for the bonds is that the bonds actually fall into 2 different types. So one is a deployment bond, which is only going to be activated when you play both characters actually on the team, and then the second bond are going to be the ones without this wording of deployment bond, and that is basically going to be raw stats, which is always going to be activated even if you don't actually play the character. So for example, if I have both Left and also Hinata, I don't actually need to play both of them together in order to benefit from all those additional stats. All I need to do is just have them in my box, but they don't actually need to be on the team themselves. Whereas if I actually want to play, for example, Tanaka and Nishinoya, I actually need to have both of them on the field in order to activate this effect of that one scoring. I can increase my team morale by 6. So that's a good way of determining which character actually need to be on the field, or which character you can just obtain but don't actually play them. Okay, now let me show you what can you actually do inside the match itself. So you will always be starting off being the surfing side, and you can obviously choose which side you actually want to surf. Now, if your character actually have a surfing skill, it sometimes actually show you the weakness, so you know actually which side of the opposition is weak at receiving, and therefore you can actually pick that area. And then obviously it will start off with a bar. And the idea is that you want to obviously get into a perfect shot. Now, if you actually get into a perfect shot, there's a good chance you actually may ace, whereas if you actually do a bad shot, it may actually go out of court. So that's kind of the things you can actually control when you're surfing. Now, if they have actually received it and returned it back, then the next thing you want to do is you want to choose one character to block it. And if you actually have character with blocking skills, those skills will be available as well, as long as it's not out of cooldown. And then if you actually manage to successfully block it, or at least receive it, what you can then do is actually choose which action you don't want to use to actually go for a spike. And basically that's kind of the main thing. So inside the match itself, it's kind of like a turn-based strategy game. Now there are obviously going to be some element of skills because you need to choose the right move at the right time so that you actually get an edge over the opponent. But also at the same time, there is always going to be an element luck because whenever you actually touch the board, you can see there are going to be some words coming out, popping out, which would either say, I think, bad, normal, or perfect. And basically, that's kind of the randomness of this game. So whenever you actually touch the board, there's a good chance it could go either way. If you are actually doing a perfect set, it's very likely that when you actually spike it, it will be a normal or perfect. Whereas if you actually do a bad set, then what's going to happen is that when you actually try to spike it, it potentially will be either a bad spike or maybe a normal spike. So there's definitely that element of RNG, and also at the same time, whenever you actually do anything, you could also get critical hits as well. Now, because I am in the trial version very early game, it's probably unlikely for me to actually show you any crit, but basically the idea is that whenever you see a word popping out, there was a gray icon next to it. If you actually do a crit, what's going to happen is that you become like a red fireball icon rather than that gray icon. But unfortunately, I don't think I can actually show you anything right now. Critical hit is going to be a much more important part of the game once you actually move towards end game, when you actually have all of your potentials and all of your stats to increase your critical hit rate, etc. Okay, so I think I more or less cover all of the main core game mechanics for Haiku Fly High, but obviously outside of that, this game also offers lots of other smaller bits on the more casual side. So for example, there's a home base where you can go in and also decorate with whatever furniture you want and also put your characters inside. There is also going to be a club or guild function where you can play with other guild members. There is also a free time, which is essentially a mini game. So you have like the daily quiz and also other mini games where you can get some rewards on weekly basis. And also for those of you guys wondering, there is a bit of a PvP element as well. It's not real time, so you will just be battling against other people's set team, but they will be played by bots. But basically there's this PvP section where you can go up in the leaderboard. So those are pretty much all of the different aspects of this game, and hopefully this video provided enough of an overview for you guys to decide whether this is a game you do want to play. And for those of you guys who do actually want to get into this game, I will be creating more guides for it in the future, probably like a reroll guide and also like a team building guide in the near future. So if you do find this useful, then please do share, like and subscribe, and you will then be notified when I drop those newer guides.